games begin!
Hello, you're listening to A Hero's Welcome, episode 14. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Wes. I'm here, as always, with Andrew.
And we have a lot to talk about today. We got a brand new hero. 22nd hero came out. She came out awful quick. We were expecting a lot more time before she was released. But
Yeah, I was expecting a few weeks on the PTR, but maybe they had so many people testing the game and enthusiastic about it, it just came out way sooner.
Yeah, I know a lot of people were looking forward to a new hero. I mean, we've been with the same 21 heroes for a little while now. I mean, it's really quick, but I think a lot of people have been playing it since beta, so definitely happy to have a new hero.
Yeah, 22nd, the very first hero added since the game's come out, and looking forward to many more heroes, new maps, and everything future. Looks good.
Yeah, definitely. Can't wait.
So let's get into the patch that just hit, right? So Ana is in the game. She's really, really fun, very unique, very dynamic. You play her a lot?
I haven't played her an awful lot, but she's definitely a very different character. We talked about it last week. She really changes things up. She is a support character, but she has so many different things about her.
Yeah, I find myself, obviously, I play supports more than any other role typically nowadays, and with new support, I'm really excited. It's the first healer that actually uses aim, right?
Yeah, I know you were really looking forward to a new healer, and specifically one such as Ana, who really prides himself on the precision-based play. How are you liking Ana so far?
I like her a lot, but there's so many other changes we'll talk about, but it makes you want to play those characters. I find myself playing Zenyatta a ton, having a blast.
Yeah, I haven't been supporting a lot lately, but definitely looking forward to playing a lot more Zenyatta. With the changes that we'll talk about with him coming up, he feels like a totally different person now. He plays a lot different, but he plays the same, but it just you have a lot more options with him, I think, now.
Yeah, playing him a lot, and we are actually going to cover Ana later in the show, right, in a strategy.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Ana. We were looking forward to, talking about somebody else, but Ana came out so quickly, we just thought it was a perfect time to really, take a look at her.
Right, so let's just cover, we talked a lot about the beta, all the changes, so we'll just skim. Some things got changed a little bit. We'll just give a little update about that pretty much. They had the overtime change, so if it goes longer than 20 seconds, you'll see the overtime burn really, really fast, right? If you're dying while overtime's in place, your spawn time's going to be a little bit longer, specifically 2 more seconds.
Right. So a lot of the things from the PTR carried over. Not a lot of changes from what we saw in the PTR, but yeah, those were definitely things we were looking forward to combat the overtime length and stalling. So those are definitely great additions.
Yeah, so in addition to Ana, which, like we said, we'll talk a lot about in the strategy segment, all about her, we had a lot of hero balance done. Diva and Zenyatta, in my opinion, are probably the most changed, but quite a bit of changes overall. So there's an overall general change to self-healing and how that generates ultimate charge. So all the characters who are able to heal themselves, including Ana,
I play an awful lot of Roadhog. I don't know if you play a lot of Roadhog, but how did you think about that? It seems extremely easy to be able to get your ultimates with Roadhog. I know they tuned him probably the most, but still, it seems like it might need some tuning, I think.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't see anything broken, really. Roadhog, with Zenyatta and all the other meta changes, he isn't really popular, but I think it's all right. And, they made changes to the rate at which you charge ult now that you can charge it faster, hypothetically with that healing. But 76, I noticed, gets ult faster as well. Yeah,
definitely. So those are all changes that they made, but like I said, Roadhog got changed probably the most, but it just still seems like having that cooldown for take a breather. It seems like I'm getting it even faster than I did before. So definitely interested to see if they change that a little bit.
Yeah, so we talked a lot about the PTR last show, so we're not going to spend too much time here. But Diva, her defense matrix got reworked. It's on the right click now by default. It's toggleable. It has 1 second cooldown.
Yeah, it's a really, really good change for her. I don't find myself playing too much Diva. I know you said you enjoy playing Diva, and you'll probably be playing her more often since this change, but I really, just playing against her, you see a huge difference in the way that she plays and her viability as a tank. So
I mean, overall, she's really good. You're going to see her a ton in competitive games. You know, the pros are playing her quite a bit, and the thing is, McCree is so good now in the meta. Diva is actually a good counter to McCree. So the fact that McCree's so good, but I mean, it's not just McCree. You know, she's able to go through the choke points so well. She's able to perform her role as a tank much more efficiently. She has verticality. She's able to get to anywhere she needs to.
She has a lot more staying power with the defense matrix, and they reworked her self-destruct as well, so it goes off a second quicker, so it's 3 seconds instead of 4 now. So it makes it a lot more viable, and also she no longer gets killed by her own ultimate, so it makes it really easy for her to get use out of that ultimate when before it was kind of risky in situations.
Yeah, well, it went from being the worst ultimate in the game, self-destruct, to being worthwhile. It actually kills people.
Right, so yeah, it's definitely someone you'll see a lot more often, especially with the 1 hero limit that we mentioned that was coming to competitive play, so she's definitely going to be seeing more playtime.
Yeah, so McCree didn't get a lot of changes. It's pretty much just one change, the fact that there's not that much fall-off damage on his primary fire, and that's just all it needs to be done for him to be in the...
Yeah, I mean, you see a drastic change in, seeing a lot of 76 to a lot more McCree now because he has that longer distance. So he's a lot more in line with Soldier's range, and his left click is really, really good. So.
Yeah, so there's some fall off at like sniperish range.
Yeah,
he's like a mid range.
There is fall off, but he is mid range like Soldier, so he can really play in that range. And now Soldier doesn't have a huge advantage against him, but he really puts out a lot more.
Right, yeah. So let's talk about Mercy in the beginning. She did have they were testing some things with her damage boost, right? It used to be 50%, so it did go back to 30%. So some things we talked about in the PTR did change a little bit.
Right, that's one of the things that did change. They were messing around with that. Originally, Mercy was 50%. They reduced it to 30. In the PTR, they were kind of playing with going back to 50, and they decided against that for obvious reasons.
Yeah, and some Guardian Angel changes. It resets when you resurrect, and you don't have to be standstill when you resurrect. Now you actually resurrect.
Right, you're not your movement's not prevented when you res. So now it makes it a lot easier for Mercy to get in there and to res and to be able to stay alive. But they did ultimately increase her cost for her ultimate as well. So we'll see a lot less reses in the future for sure.
Yes, and Zenyatta, quite a bit of changes. His health got increased, so he has 50 more shields. So he has 50 health, 150 shields, which is really good because you could take up to 150 damage, just line of sight, just exit battle, just a little bit, get full health again.
Yeah, all that comes back to you, so you only really have 50 health, so even if you take that 50 health away, you still have that 150 shield as well. So makes him a lot more pokey, makes him be able to stay around a little bit longer and do healing and put up his orbs.
Right, and his orbs do travel a lot faster, Discord and Harmony, pretty much almost instantaneous.
Yeah, it went from about 30 to 120, the projectile speed, so it is crazy different.
Yeah, so it's like 4 times faster than it used to. Pretty much what happens now is before you would Discord and then primary fire, and your primary fire would hit before they were even discorded now. Now it's pretty much instantaneous. But his primary fire did get reduced a little bit. It used to be 45 damage, now it's 40. But they did buff his right click to be, the same damage. So when you right click, it does 40 damage per hit as well. And I find myself using that more often. It's nice because if you discord somebody, you have visibility on them, even if they go behind the wall. It's just for you. It's not for your whole team.
Right. So you're really kind of able to prep that alt fire before they come around the corner.
Yeah, you see them come around the corner.
And that's what they wanted to do. I mean, ultimately putting it in line with this primary fire makes it so that, honestly, you can get more damage out with the full alternate fire if you can get it out. So it's a lot more about timing, as before it was pretty much, your primary fire was your go-to for sure.
Yeah, stationary targets like turrets or bastions would work very well. I find myself using it a lot for shields, whether it's just a Winston shield or a Reinhardt shield. Just you could be safe while you're charging it, and then you just peek for a second, and it does quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, definitely. I like the changes that they made to Zenyatta. Like I said, I'm definitely looking forward to playing him more often for sure.
And when you ultimate, you have race car Zenyatta. You go
Race car
real fast.
Zenyatta, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean they even had a little video I think we talked about last week with him going from all the way to the start position to point B on Hanamura like instantly with it, and just the speed boost from Lucio. So.
Yeah, a lot of people aren't familiar with like that amount of speed, right? And they like just run off the map sometimes.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I hate with playing with Lucios who I don't know. They just speed boost at the weirdest times.
Yeah, it could throw your aim off and stuff too, but it's pretty cool. Like I find myself saving people's lives that aren't even near me, right? Like I could ulti and then run to the fray, to the front line and save people. Like an ulting Roadhog or something that's about to die,
Yeah, I mean, ultimately they wanted to make it more usable because before it was just basically usable. Everybody had a stack on top of Zenyatta, and it was basically for taking or defending like an ultimate or one major push on a point or such. So it's a lot more usable now. So hopefully we'll see a lot more Zenyatta in the future.
Yeah, and a
too.
lot of the the very first PTR, the changes, most of those went live. The only thing I could think of is Ana did have 6 bullets in her gun at first, and now it's 8. We'll talk about her later, but
that as well as the mess around with the Mercy's boost from 50%.
Right. So that's pretty much the live patch that we had, pretty similar to the PTR, and we talked a lot about that last time. There was also a dev update. We love these, right? Kaplan kind of gets in front of the camera and.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta be thankful for all the developer updates, especially Kaplan himself. It's very interesting to get a chance to see what they're thinking and see where they're going with the game, and they're just awesome to have for sure.
Yes, I think it was just titled Introducing Ana. So he talked a lot about Ana, designing her, like what kind of audience. He was pretty specific in talking about how she was like a higher skill ceiling character, right? Because it is the very first character in the support role that actually aims, right? If you think of all the other healers, they all heal without aiming. So having some skill, intertwined with that is, a playstyle a lot of people were seeking.
Yeah, I mean, they wanted to bring a playstyle in the support section where people who are really precision-based players could have a lot of fun with that. So people like you who really like precision play, they didn't previously have that with the support. So it's a completely different support. She's really good. She brings a lot to the table with her different abilities. So it's a very specific audience that she suits.
Yeah, in the game, a lot of people probably don't pay attention to it too much, but there is a ranking of how difficult the players are, and she has the maximum of a 3-star skill rating.
Right, she's definitely a high skill skill ceiling at least character of any of the other heroes.
Right, so he talked about that. He also talked about just hero balance in general. Like the major changes, kind of why their mindset of that and the direction they're trying to take.
Yeah, which is awesome. You get to see exactly what they're thinking, and you get to kind of get a heads up on maybe whether it's working out the way they intended, whether they seem like they might be making changes in the future. But yeah, I mean specifically Zenyatta, like we said, they wanted him to be much more survivable, but not so devastating after having a lot more survivability. So that's why they kind of tuned his damage a little bit as well. Diva, they wanted to rework the defense matrix, make it a lot more usable, and right now it's so much better than it was before, and have her ultimate as well be more useful. She was just not seeing a lot of play at all.
Right, and you mentioned a little bit about Mercy, about the res happening a little too often, which I would agree, most people would agree. Mercy res, I play a ton of Mercy. Every fight, it's like a guaranteed you have a Mercy res up.
Yeah, I mean, even some fights, if they go long enough, you have 2 reses. And the thing with the res is if you can get a whole team wipe and then res, it really just flops the battle from one side to the other. And it's just too devastating in that situation.
Yeah, in the dev update, they also talked a little bit about McCree and how he was too strong in the past with the tanks, with the right click, fan, the hammer. How they kind of tuned that down, and they're just trying to find his place for him. But I personally like the McCree changes. I think making people want to left click over right click is better. You're incentivizing better play.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about in the past episodes that the fan hammer flashbang combo was just too devastating, especially with the tanks. It really made you want to just flashbang combo every single time against every single person. It was a little ridiculous. So definitely prefer having him left click a lot more often. Like you said, it's better for strategic play as well. So
right, and another thing they talked about a little bit was competitive play, right? So they introduced a 1 hero limit to the competitive play with this patch, which is, in my opinion, a great addition.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things we've talked about a lot in the past. You know, I think in the very beginning, we were hopeful that we wouldn't have to go to this hero limit. We obviously like the idea of having the stacking around, having people be able to kind of play whoever they want and have things open. But ultimately, as you know, developers found out, and as I think we both agree, that it really needed to happen. It was just becoming too crazy with all the stacking, especially in competitive and in tournaments. So I think it's definitely a great way to go for sure.
Right, so you always have quick play. You can play whatever character you want, and you know that's an option for people. We have brawls and stuff too as well. But yeah, just competitive. You have the 1 hero limit. You know, Captain was talking about how it wasn't really fun to deal with or watch. You know, stackings and I think it does a lot of things really. I mean, it's easier to balance when you're talking about introducing new characters and new map designs. Like there's so much, you know, when you have less variables, it's easier to balance. And
yeah, it makes everything easier, and I think that's ultimately why they decided to go that route, but they were hoping not to have to. I mean, obviously, I think if we, in a perfect world, if we could have had no hero limits, it probably would have been nice, but yeah, I agree. I mean, I've been playing a lot of competitive play lately, and I definitely agree with the change for sure. So,
and at the very, very end of the developer update, there was a little hidden message. There was a little reference to Sombra. We won't go too much in details, but just kind of like a decipher little message at the end there, and there's Reddit threads and stuff you can search about it. We'll try to put a link maybe in the show notes.
We'll have a link for in the show notes. I mean, you can go watch the video for yourself and take a look at Reddit, and they will give you a little bit more about that. It's just a little tidbit, but
it's just a reference to Sombra, which I believe is a different character than Ana, but I believe Andrew.
So yeah, we talked about this last week. I think I was of the impression that Sombra and Ana are the same. I'm still not sold on the whole idea that Sombra is not Ana, because I think a lot of what we found in the past linked straight to Ana with her reticle and with a lot of the with the skins and such. But we definitely see that there is some information on a possible new hero coming up. So a lot of little things here and there. So it'd definitely be interesting to see what happens.
Nah, Sombra is definitely a different character, not the same person as Ana, and yeah, I mean, back in the 76 video, which is, you know, whiles ago, you know, maybe a month ago.
Yeah, the animated.
I even called out that the Alejandra girl was Reaper's daughter. That's a possible candidate for Sombra, or maybe her mom is what I said in that episode. But definitely someone other than Ana.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Definitely.
All right, so let's get on to digital comic. We had a new one this week, issue number 8.
Yeah, Old Soldiers. We had previously, last week, we talked about the issue number 7 digital comic, which was also about Ana, and it was about her backstory. But this week we have Old Soldiers, and it features Ana and Soldier 76 and even some Reaper. Of course, he always has to find his way to shadow step into the conversation. But yeah, it was definitely a very fun comic. I really liked it.
Yeah, it was a good comic. It's pretty much telling the story of how Ana kind of came back into the picture, right? So it's kind of like more recent, like Ana's back, you know, fighting with the team and stuff. And there was a reference to Sombra. Again, not the same person as Ana. But I mean, yeah, we'll find out eventually.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, definitely check it out. Issue number 8, Old Soldiers. We'll have a link to it in the show notes. I don't think they had a made fire version of that one yet, but
yeah, I haven't seen one, but definitely really cool. Like, and it's the second one with Ana. So if you just read one comic with Ana, it's another one.
Yeah, so it's the second one featuring Ana, but a little bit more with a soldier coming in the picture, of course, trying to be the hero and riding in, but maybe not. We'll see. But
yeah, it's kind of interesting because in that comic you see her like with these different syringes, right? And she, you know, if she's gonna heal or do damage, she changes syringe. But we find out like the current gun, right? There's
well, she has.
Oh, that was the old comic. That was the 7th comic.
Well, no, there was this comic with her healing Soldier 76, but they talked about it, if you guys watched the Comic-Con or heard anything about that. The way it works in the game situation is all of her allies have actually been given the anti-venom for her shots. So now she can fire upon friendlies, and it doesn't hurt them, it heals them, and then she's able to damage enemies as well without having to worry about switching. But in that situation, obviously, Soldier doesn't have the anti-venom, so she has to specifically switch out for the healing.
Okay. Yeah, that's some next level stuff right there.
Some next level stuff. Yeah, she has them on her right hand, so she can just swap out real easy. She's a sniper for sure. She knows what she's doing.
All right, so in a similar vein, we also found out about a graphic novel coming out, a 100-page full graphic novel. I guess there's like 2 different dates, right? One for physical, one for digital.
Right. So we'll actually get the digital comic or the digital graphic novel a lot quicker. It's coming out this year, November 2016. And then if you're waiting for the physical edition, it will come out April 2017. So really cool. Looking forward to it for sure. I mean, Blizzard always does such a great job with this, with the backstory and with any kind of novels or stories, or, you know, they do such a great job. They, you know, have some of the best people working on these things. I'm definitely looking forward to a graphic novel.
Right, and it's going to be titled First Strike, and it's pretty much going to tell the story of the original Overwatch strike team.
Right, and it's going to be done by Dark Horse Comics, and if you know anything about comics, they're pretty much one of the biggest names in the industry. They do everything, so
that pretty much sums up the news for the week. Let's change gears now to the competitive scene. Quite a bit of stuff we could talk about here. We'll try to get, you know, the big picture. So we got a couple acquisitions. Let's start with TSM, Team Solo Mid, we've talked about in the past.
Right, so big name in esports, and they are finally coming to Overwatch. So people look out. They picked up Code 7, who previously, if you listen to previous episodes, they were formerly Gale Force Esports, and they kind of parted ways mutually after a couple of months, and so they were back to Code 7, and now Team Solo Mid is picking them up. So definitely take a look at them. Watch out. They are coming to Overwatch.
Right, I remember making an announcement that TSM was looking for, you know, individual people and as well as teams, and looks like they settled on a great Team Code 7. They've been performing extremely well. I mean, like, you know, maybe second or third best, you know, in the world. Very good team.
Yeah, they're doing really good. I think even we watched some of the streams or the videos for, you know, current matches going on in Harblue. Usually their tank. Doing an amazing job. I think you mentioned him being one of the better Roadhogs that you've seen.
He gets the best Roadhog. I mean, as much as I hate playing against Roadhogs in all my competitive games, it's like the most cancerous thing ever. Harblue is really good. I mean, just the way he flanks, he plays a little bit different style. You know, he plays him like a flanker, gets a little bit more aggressive, but he always gets those picks, and he's been performing extremely well.
Yeah, you know, I love playing Roadhog, and I love playing that kind of flank with him. But when you're not playing with the coordinated team, it's sometimes going to end up very badly. You know, it just doesn't go off quite as well as they pull it off. So
right, so we have TSM now in the Overwatch scene. We also have Fnatic, and they were in the past a little bit, but we did find some news, you know, some time ago that Fnatic and Manchester United were in a bidding war for an Overwatch team, and that was, you know, some pretty big news.
Yeah,
because
pretty big
something
news.
like
Manchester United, a really big organization. I think we were looking forward to them joining Overwatch. I thought it was pretty much a lock, but no, Fnatic actually beating them out for whatever reason, picking up previous team Nubrus. So
yeah, and it's just interesting to think about these traditional sport teams kind of coming into the esports scene. It's very interesting to think about. But yeah, so they got a great pick with Nubrus, a very, very good team.
Yeah, currently 5th in NA, 9th in the world. They're doing amazing. They have a lot of really big names on their team. If you have been paying attention to IDDQD, Bud, Stoops, Cool Matt, all coming from a lot of really good teams. Cool Matt even previously on Envious with Stoops as well. So
yeah, so just good to see these, you know, big names coming Overwatch, and I think we have the most of them now. You know, Cloud9. You know, we have Liquid.
There's still a few out there that we're waiting for, but you know, hey, the game's not been out for that long. I know it seems like forever, but man, this is all happening really quickly.
So speaking of reasons to get into the competitive scene, we have a new E-League introduced.
Yeah, E-League tournament. E-League and Faceit putting together the Overwatch Open. It's the biggest tournament so far, 300,000, both NA and EU tournament.
Right, so second place in just the NA and EU, $300,000 is the, you know, largest prize pool by far that we've seen so far. And
previously was the Atlantic Showdown. We'll talk about next, which is only 100,000. So
you say only 100,000?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a lot of money, but still 300,000. You know, triple that.
Right. So the E-League is really, really big. It's online qualifying. You'll catch a lot of it on Twitch. I know there's a special thing for the grand finals.
Right, so the qualifying all the way up to the regional finals would be only broadcasted on Twitch, but the grand finals, so the final matchup, will be live on TBS Network in the E-League Arena in Turner Studios in Atlanta. So
right, so some people might have seen them doing the Counter-Strike footage, right, on TBS, and that was kind of a big thing to have, like a TV series with esports on like a regular network channel.
Right, so that kind of, I think, really propelled this situation into action. I mean, Overwatch is really big. It's been doing really well, and because of the previous success that they had with CSGO, really allowed this opportunity to kind of bring itself to the front.
Right, and if you don't have TV like myself, you're still going to be able to catch the grand finals on Twitch, but also be on TBS.
Yeah, so if you're weird and you don't have TV like the rest of the world, you can still watch it on Twitch. But
TV's a thing of the past, let me tell you.
Thing of the past.
Okay, so the EU, they have their own separate regional finals, right? So we saw some of those games.
Right, so actually the EU regional finals is already been Misfits versus Anox, and Misfits took that with a resounding 3-0 versus them. So we're still waiting, I think, as of today to see what happens in the NA. So we had, Envious and LG and Cloud9 and Team Solo Mid. So it's actually Cloud9 versus Team Solo Mid, and the winners will go on out of those two right now.
Yeah, so we'll keep you up to date in the future shows, what that's looking like. But it's kind of interesting, Overwatch is going to be on the big screen. And that's gonna bring mass appeal.
Yeah, it's always a win when you get any kind of advertisement or any kind of viewership, especially for a game like this. It's so new; it's going to propel so many different options and availabilities.
So let's talk a little bit about the state of esports. We're talking about it being on TV. Should we be following like these traditional sports, how they set up their formats and their leagues and their teams and like the broadcasting rules and stuff like that? What do you think? A lot of people are divided, right? Should we kind of follow the footsteps of the traditional sports and kind of mimic that, or should we kind of do our own thing?
Right. So, I mean, that's really been the big issue with esports. Should we go the sports route? Should we, be on TV? Do we need that? Or should we do it completely separately? I'm not sure exactly on which way is the better way to go, but I think, honestly, we don't need to go down that traditional sports route. But, if we can and if, it works out well, I think there's no reason why you don't have to. But, yeah, I mean, definitely, I think it could totally be its own thing. But I think as we were talking about earlier, being a setup, actual like traditional sport and being on TV and being, watched by, general people and such, it brings a lot of stability to the esports scene. I think that's really what's kind of lacking right now. So you have a lot of roster changes, a lot of teams getting in and out of esports here and there and changing. And I think if they were to go the actual standard sports way, there would be a lot more stability in that field.
Right. I mean, my take on it is we don't need television. We don't need a mass, outlet for esports. I think esports will thrive and be fine. We're over $500 million industry as it is, and it's only getting bigger. We have huge names. My take is TV is definitely a thing of the past, as we know it, traditional TV is going to be going away anyways. But, I don't know. A lot of people would argue that esports isn't even a sport, right? And I think they're just getting the word sport confused with, like, athleticism, right?
Yeah, I mean, typically that's what we think of when we say sports. But, yeah, it's definitely not the meaning of sport. It's definitely... Esports is definitely a sport. It definitely requires skill, practice.
It's just competition, really. Sport, it just means competition, right?
Yeah, but it brings to mind a certain level of competition. I mean, you can say anything's competition, bingo is competition, but is it really, a sport such?
Well, I mean, poker's a sport.
Yeah, but it's people who play the game, who practice, so it's a different level. You can play poker at your home, but is that really a sport,
I'm just saying, like, some people have, problem with calling esports a sport,
Yeah, definitely. It's a divide that some people have, but, I mean, definitely it is a sport. And, yeah, I mean, TV, that's all up in the air, but regardless of whether TV is around or if it's just Netflix and internet and that such, there will always be networks of a sort, so I don't think that's going to go away.
Yeah, I mean... We'll see, but yeah, we don't need. All I'm trying to get at is I don't think we need to follow in the footsteps of traditional sports. I think it's how so far is a good reflection of the success that we've had.
Yeah, and there are definitely pros and cons. I mean, when I say that, like I said, it's a matter of we don't need to, but it's just a matter of how things shape up. But there are definitely pros and cons. I mean, honestly, if you look at sports today, you have plenty of people who are on regular organizations. You have regular organizations who are around forever, who are considered the best in the world. You have the Lakers and the Yankees and the those people out there who are just constantly on the top. They have all the money. They can get the best players and all that such. And really, on the opposite side of that coin, esports is really much more homegrown. You have people constantly fighting and practicing to be the best, and there's no standard in the situation that we have. So it really brings a lot of positive in that way as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not against traditional TV esports. Getting more eyes on the games is a good thing. Really, it's not going to hurt. But I don't think that we need to follow in their footsteps. Follow how they have their leagues and how they have the rules and how the ownerships of the teams have to work this way. I think the variety that we have and the freedom that we have within is going to create a better product.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm saying is when you get into that, you go down that standard sports route, then you also get a lot of the bad pitfalls that come along with that. So you get teams that are constantly on the top. They have the best owners, they have the most amount of money, so they're constantly on top, and there's no competition really, or very little competition. So that's the bad side of things that can happen as well.
All right, so that finishes our rant with that. Let's get into the ESL Atlantic Showdown. How they had a ban on Ana, but they reversed the decision, right? So she's allowed to be played now?
Yeah, so currently from this qualifier on, they're going to be allowing people to use Ana. So previously they came out and they said for the rest of the qualifiers all the way up to the finals, she would not be available, and that they would actually have a ruling coming on to whether she would even be allowed in the finals at Gamescom, but they actually reversed that decision, and so now she is available.
So do you think this has an effect on the tournament or the tournaments to come? Or
yeah, it's really about the precedent, honestly, is what I'm worried about is, what kind of precedent they're setting for the future with future heroes coming out. So you have kind of two different schools of thought here. You have people who are just like, put her in the game. Obviously the teams that are on the top, they're going to adjust. They're going to figure her out. They're going to figure out ways to use the new character. They're going to figure out ways to counter it, and so that the best will always be on the top, just like it is now. But then you also have people who are saying, that's unfair if you let her out there and just let everybody use her. Some people, are moving a lot, doing different stuff. They're on different tournaments. They don't get to use her, and so then they don't have practice, and other teams obviously can use that to their advantage.
I mean, the way I look at it is pretty simple, right? So if you have a new character or even a new map, if you're talking about just days after release, I think it's pretty normal for it not to be allowed in the tournament. Maybe like 1 or 2 week kind of time frame is probably appropriate for her to be usable, or future characters. But I think a lot of it has to do with these tournaments that are spanning many weeks. It's very hard, right? Because you have a new character now, but you're going to be going all the way. You still have a month of games to be played out. So I mean, I don't know. It's pretty simple, right? Just wait a week or two and then
yeah, I mean, it's a unification of the tournaments, like you were speaking about. Certain tournaments are going to allow the new characters, certain tournaments are not. So it needs to be uniform across the board. So I'm in agreement with you. I think she should be banned for a short amount of time until people can really get their hands on them, especially with, like you said, all the tournaments. People a lot of times have multiple tournaments already lined up, out of country, out of state, whatever, and they're not able to practice the new hero, and then they're just kind of left to a disadvantage.
Right, so we're talking about the ESL Atlantic Showdown, right? It's the $100,000 tournament, really big one. It was the biggest, right, until the E-League came around. But so we had the third qualifiers.
Right, so the third qualifiers just finish up, and so out of the NA, we got One Shot, Soda Pop, Colorado Clutch, and Selfless GG. And out of the EU, we have Two's Trunk, Bikini Beach Esports, Pretz, and Deathmatch Gang moving on from that qualifier.
So these are kind of like qualifiers for qualifiers, right?
Right, they're qualifiers for qualifiers. So we have another qualifier coming, and then out of those, then they go to the actual next qualifier in the rank. So there's going to be 4 people out of each qualifier from each region until they move on to face each other in the next qualifiers.
Right, and we know when they're going to have the finals, right? Because there's an event for that.
Right, so the finals is actually going to be in Gamescom. If you listen to previous episodes, we talked about that. It's a big thing. It's going to be going on in Cologne, Germany, in Gamescom. So
yeah, something to look forward to for sure. And just to finish up competitive a little bit, the Ghost of Gamer weeklies. Let's talk about those a little bit, because I noticed a little bit of a trend. We're seeing a lot more of these up-and-coming teams playing on these Ghost of Gamer weeklies. And these are like smaller tournaments that happen every single week, right? But before, they were kind of dominated by the big teams, NVS and Cloud9s and such. But now, sometimes, we see those big names in there, but we're seeing a lot of new teams. It's really interesting, for story building. You're seeing all this new the new talent, right? And I think it's like the perfect place for those little tournaments to have.
And we've talked about it a lot in the past. I mean, the Ghost of Gamers weeklies, they're really doing a great job of putting on. Every week you have something to look forward to, something you can watch. And again, seeing a lot of these up and coming teams is really great. So like I said previously, seeing a lot of the big talent there as well. But with these big tournaments going on, obviously they're going to be present in these big tournaments. It leaves it really open for a lot of the new talent. And it's always great, for new people to come along and be able to have a place where they can kind of test themselves, put themselves against the rest of the world, and kind of see where they stack up. So.
But yeah, I mean, it's super interesting to see all these new teams. Sometimes, a person or two kind of had a roster change and you broke up from another team, and you see that happen quite a bit this week, especially, and probably in the next week to come. a lot of different roster changes. It's very hard to keep up with all that, but it's very exciting. And it's also important to note that these tournaments are open, right? So even if you're watching the North America Gosu weeklies, the ones that were just going on right now as we're recording this, I mean, you could see One Sun, they're from China. You see MVP from Korea. So you get teams from all over the world, and you see those different meta clashes. And you can call them meta clashes, a little bit different play styles, but yeah, it's interesting.
It's always interesting to see what the different regions come up with. They're always, very polarized to what we see here in the NA. So definitely awesome just to see different ways of thinking for sure.
Right, so let's get into our strategy, right? It's all about Ana. She's the newest character. It makes the most amount of sense to talk about her now while she's fresh. She is a support, like we mentioned before. She has 200 health, which is the same amount of health that every support has, right?
Yeah, so she's very in line with the other supports, although she plays completely different, so...
All right, so let's talk about her primary weapon. We'll just go over her basic abilities real quick. Her basic weapon, Bionic Rifle, right, heals allies and damages enemies, and this is something that you'll be doing quite often with separate abilities with her, right? So the same ability is able to heal and do damage.
Yeah, that's really kind of the way they built her is she's really twofold, able to heal and do damage at the same time. So her Bionic Rifle heals or damages, and it's over 1 second. So you apply it, happens 1 second over time. So
yeah, so the damage and the healing are both like over time. It's 1 second, so it's really fast. But yeah, the damage and the healing is done over 1 second. The ammunition is 8. It used to be 6 when PTR just barely went out, but she does have 8 ammunition. It does 80 damage over 1 second. If you hit an enemy, right? If you hit a friendly, it does 75 heals per 1 second. It takes 1.5 to reload, and the one thing I noticed right away is you're not able to shoot these things out super fast, right? So you're only able to shoot 1 round per second, and it's important to know that because when you go into scope, and sometimes you expect an instant hit scans fire, and all of a sudden it's like what happened?
Yeah, it's an interesting way that they did it because, she actually has an ammo of 8, but then it takes her, 1 round per second to fire these rather than like you see in the comic her, loading in 1 at a time. They could have just as easily went that way and just made the reload 1 round per second and then just had her have a constant 1 dart in the chamber. So
well, it's kind of like a bolt action, in the game.
Yeah, it's a bolt action, so it looks like she's constantly, just putting 1 bullet in there, but it's actually, she has a clip of 8. So
right, and her right click is a scope, right? Because you could scope. We talked a lot about her, but we could go over it a little bit, right? So she's a hit scan character when you're scoped in, and it acts as a projectile when you're not scoped in, and it operates the same. It does the same amount of healing, same amount of damage. It's also important to note. I forgot what I was going to say.
She does not headshot. I don't know if that's what you were going to say, but that's one big thing
she
that's
headshot.
Very different from other characters, especially sniper like Widowmaker. So it doesn't matter whether you shoot them in the head or the body, which obviously then you should be aiming at the body. It's a lot easier to hit. And so, again, with her scoped in, she's hit scan, so it's instant. When she's unscoped, it's projectile, so you do actually have a travel time. So just keep that in mind when you're using her. Obviously, if you can, it's probably easier to use the scope.
I remember what I was going to say. Her heals per second is 75. If you're able to shoot every second, that's the highest in the game, right? Mercy does 50, and that's really, really high. But
yeah, again,
of course you have to aim and shoot.
You have to aim, and then it's really hard to. You can either be projectile and just be spamming on one person, which isn't probably ideal, or you can be switching off. So it's a very different way of playing her. You don't see her standing behind one person like you would see a Mercy and just spot healing one person. So she's really kind of just out there just healing, whoever needs a little bit here and there.
Right, so her default shift ability is the sleep dart. Very fun ability to use, right? It takes about a quarter of a second, so it's not a... So the travel is perfectly straight, right? And obviously you don't headshot something like this, right? You just put someone to sleep. But there is a little bit of a delay when you push shift and she pulls out a little pistol and shoots someone. So getting that aiming right, being able to follow and track your targets could be difficult, but a stationary target's super easy to hit. And pretty much what it does is it put them to sleep.
Right, so it is a 5-second duration, and actually it does 5 damage, which isn't, it doesn't wake him up, and it has a 12-second cooldown is the kind of thing. It's really her escape mechanism, so you really have to choose between trying to, put somebody to sleep and take them out of the fight for that 5 seconds, or using it as an escape mechanic and holding on to it when you need it, because she does not have any kind of travel ability, no sprint, no wall climb, none of that.
Right, we'll talk a little bit more about that after the rundown here. So let's talk about the biotic grenade. It's very interesting. Just like your primary attack, it has two ways. If it hits enemies, it does damage, and it has an effect. And if it hits your friendlies, it has a different effect.
Right, and actually it will do that in one instance. So if you throw it down, you're really trying to catch both friendly and enemy if you can. And that way you're actually able to do damage to the enemies and heal your team all at the same time. Another interesting to note is that it's really her only heal, so you can also save it for yourself and use
Her
it
own
when
self-heal.
Yeah, her self-heal as well. So you just kind of throw it at the ground at her feet, and it heals you as well.
Yeah, so it has a 10-second cooldown. The duration is 5 seconds. You'll see a icon above friendly players. It's like a golden arrow facing up, letting you know that they have increased healing, right? So all the healing is doubled. And similarly with enemies, if you hit them, there's a purple arrow facing down or something, or no, there's a plus sign that's like X'd out. It lets you know that you can't receive heals.
Right, exactly, and it actually turns their whole bar around them purple like that, so it's very obvious, even for attackers or defenders to see. I really loved it. They did such a great job with the UI on that. Like the very first time I seen it, super obvious on what's going on.
Yeah. So the important thing to notice is the grenade does heal your friendlies. It heals them for 100, and for a duration afterwards, 5 seconds. All healing is doubled, right? So if you throw a grenade and then you left click, now that's doubled. It's also important to note that all healing source, doesn't matter where the healing is coming from, whether it's Roadhog,
you got Mercy, Roadhog, you have, Lucio or any of that, doubles the effects on them as well. And then it does 60 damage to your enemies, and it actually stops them from receiving any heals, which is a crazy, crazy thing. We're definitely going to talk about that in her discussion. But it is a really small area, so communication is really key, especially with this ability and trying to catch all of your friendlies.
Yeah, and you kind of like lob it, right? So you can aim it at distance. Yeah,
that's one thing I really got into the practice range and check that out. Again, there's several other people, like you have Tracer who throws her ultimate, which is not, you can't change the trajectory, but hers you can definitely change the trajectory, and you can lob it super far if you know what you're doing.
Right. And her ultimate, which is very exciting, Nana Boost, also,
Yeah, I think you said that wrong. It's Nano Boost.
No, I said that right. Nana Boost. She's grandma.
Yeah. Everybody's already nicknaming it the Nana Boost. But yeah, it's her ultimate. It's definitely a game changer. 8-second duration, and it makes your person super hero.
Right, so what it allows you to do is you get to choose one of your friendly targets, and you can't miss it or anything, so it's, auto target ability. And what it does is you turn them into Super Saiyan, right? So they do 50% more damage, they take 50% damage less, and they go 30% faster.
Yeah, they just don't destroy the ground around them like a normal Super Saiyan, but yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's pretty devastating. Obviously, combo that with ults. Certain heroes could take advantage of that more than others. Has a cool effect. You have when you have Zenyatta, you have the orbs on you, either one.
You have the aura around you as well. So you have that aura, plus it actually has some lightning around your screen as well as on your character. So if you see an enemy with the Nana boost on, it's super obvious.
Yeah, they're all lit up.
They're orange and they got lightning flowing through them. It's like, stay away from them. Super Saiyan level 3 or something,
Okay, right. I also want to note that I have a friend that speaks Arabic, and he complimented the creators Blizzard for making the language so accurate. And I've heard this on the forums from other people and even other characters, but apparently they went to Cairo and actually hired a voice actress that lives there, and apparently the Arabic is spot on, like perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds really good. I don't speak Arabic, but definitely, obviously, Blizzard always does such a great job with that. I know a lot of people gave them crap for some of the other voiceovers, but I mean, I think the game is great, and I think they did such an amazing job with the voiceovers. I think
some people are like, oh, Lucio, why doesn't he speak, his language and blah, blah, blah.
Jamaican, and then why doesn't, Jamaican, yeah.
He's Brazilian.
I'm Brazilian, I'm sorry. Jamaican, Brazilian. Anyways,
all right, so
Tracer, I think, is the one that a lot of people talked about. She's got this overtly, speech, but I think it plays really well to her character. I mean, she's such a fun, goofy character. It really plays well to her, and I mean, I'm glad that they didn't change it or something. So.
I mean, overall, I've heard nothing but really good things about the voiceover work. I know May, really, really good Chinese, and so on. So major props to Blizzard for that. So let's talk about the character discussion for putting all the pieces together for Ana, right? So let's talk about her ability to heal and kill. That is the question.
That is the question. So the one big thing to note, like we said, she actually does 80 damage and 75 healing, But despite that, it's much easier to heal on her. And I mean, that's her primary. She is a support. So again, that is one thing that you should definitely be focusing on. I mean, obviously, if you have a shot to kill someone or to take them down, definitely. But, there's several things that play into it, and we're going to break that down right now. But definitely healing is the majority of what you should be focusing on.
Yeah, just pay attention. If you're the only support, you're probably going to be dedicating more time to healing, which is most of my quick match experience. But I have played her a little bit competitive.
Only in quick match. You'll see Ana rolling around as the only support. But hopefully you don't get stuck in that position too much. Like I said, she definitely doesn't feel like a single support to me. She definitely needs a second support. But
I mean, you
could
make it
do
work.
it. You could do it.
I mean, it's not ideal, but
yeah.
So let's talk about the allies, healing them. It is pretty forgiving, right? With the hitboxes on the allies, I've noticed a little bit, especially when you're not scoped in.
Right. So in the projectile unscoped, they have larger hitboxes, so it's a lot easier to just walk up and just heal your friendly as well. So,
and also keep in mind that it does prioritize healing, right? So I know when I first started playing here, I tried to snipe people, on the other side of my Reinhardt shield, maybe. Like, Reinhardt's going to eat every single one, right? So you're not able to shoot through your friendlies and then hit the enemies.
Yeah, definitely. Prioritizes healing. That's what you should be doing most of the time. So, yeah, just keep in mind, you can't shoot through shields and such like that. It's going to hit your friendly. So
we talked a little bit about it, but when you are scoped, it acts as a hit scan, which just means that it's instantaneous, right? There's not a projectile is drawing in the game space. When you're not scoped in, it just acts like a projectile, and it is perfectly accurate. There is no fall off damage or no kind of gravity or anything.
No, it's perfectly straight, no drop. But it
there's
does take
some travel
time.
Yeah, some travel time, especially your sleep dart. There's some travel time in pulling out that little pistol, right?
Yeah, so it's definitely one of the ones that's hard to use. A lot of people, you got to get really used to it, especially in close quarters where you have people like
like a
Reaper
Genji
who can shift out of it, or a Genji that can just jump all over the place. Yeah, it just makes it really hard to hit. So
yes, a lot of times you're deciding whether you're going to be scoped or whether you're going to be unscoped. I mean, most of the time I find myself scoped in, but yeah, when you're clustered, it's really easy to target. But yeah, you can't underestimate the amount of damage she does. She does really good damage.
She does really good damage. And the other thing is because she doesn't have any movement ability, you really got to pick your battles, whether you're, scoped from longer range or whether you're really close with your friendly. So it really depends on the engagement, whether you're attacking or defending, your positioning, your team's positioning, your comp, all that stuff plays into how you're playing her. So obviously, if you are sniping and you're at a range, you definitely want to be at a range from your enemies because you don't want them to just be able to, have that Winston jump right on you and take you out. Real simple. But again, you don't want to be right up with your friendlies all the time and just be right in the middle of the battle either.
Right, and a lot of the challenge that I had at first is just familiarizing myself with the rate of fire, because you can only fire one per second. So when I first got on her, I'm a sniper, just like Widowmaker, can do some jump, quick, scope in fires, and it can feel very clunky if you fired within the last 1 second. You're not able to shoot right away.
Yeah, so definitely one thing you got to keep in mind, her rate of fire definitely, it really establishes her as a completely different character, and that's why she is support rather than Widowmaker, who is a sniper. So completely different, definitely keep in mind. Sometimes you definitely got to have that timing down for her.
So let's talk about a little combo that's already pretty popular, I've noticed, but we like to talk about combos. There's a hook combo and little Genji combos and stuff. So with her, a combo's pretty simple, right? You sleep somebody, and then you casually walk up to their body. They're taking a nap. And what you do is you just primary attack, melee, and grenade at the same time. It's pretty simultaneous, really quick, right? So left click, melee, smack them with a grenade.
Yeah, poor Lucio. There's no trinket in this game, so if you're sleeped, you're sleeped.
Yeah, and it's pretty devastating, and a lot of times, what I like to do is you hit them with a dart first, and then you sleep them, and you don't have to worry about the sleep being broken by your primary attack. I've never had that happen. It's like, because there's 1 second dot, but it never breaks from the sleep. So, they're sleeping, and it does quite a bit of burst damage.
Right, so you're really able to 1v1 pretty well with that combo. But again,
some people,
it revolves around the sleep dart and the grenade, which are two of your cooldowns, which you really definitely got to keep an eye on. So if you get caught out with that sleep dart, you definitely want to be by friendlies for sure.
Right, and it does heal yourself too. So even if you're not 100% health, throwing that grenade, it's pretty effective. And you can't headshot, so there's no use, of maybe aiming for the head or anything.
No, you just hit them right wherever, square in the body. It does pretty well.
And if you want to have a lot of swag, you just do one of your emotes while they're sleeping as well. I like the one where she pulls out her daughter on the hologram. It's like, look at her while you're sleeping. This is what I fight for.
Right. This is what I fight for. You're like, I'm sleeping. I'm not awake.
Yeah, just make sure no one wakes them up, you know, it might go bad.
Yeah. Those crazy people who don't pay attention just shoot the sleeping target.
Right, so let's talk about her grenade, right? So enemies cannot get health packs when they have this debuff, which is unique so far to Ana, right? So there's a big plus sign that's kind of purple.
And that is really devastating to certain characters, especially someone like a Tracer who revolves a lot around that. I mean, she can still rewind and such, but she is not able to pick up health packs, which, I mean, I play quite a bit of Tracer, and that's one of the things where she's so good at just moving around the map and picking up health packs.
Right, and it just completely negates a lot of abilities in the game, like the taking a huff from Roadhog. He's going to do absolutely nothing. He's just going to be immobile. You know, he's going to be vulnerable.
Make himself even more vulnerable, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even like a Zenyatta ultimate, you know, we're seeing a lot of Zenyatas. Even, I mean, it's not going to affect Zenyatta because he's immune, but all the people standing in his Transcendence are not going to be able to get healed.
Just makes them a real easy target for a Zarya bomb or something, you know. They're all just grouped up. They're like, I'm getting healed, but they're not really.
Yeah, it's important to note that you can get shields regenerated. So if you're a character that has shields like a Zarya or Zenyatta, you can regenerate those. Those act normally with that debuff. But it's just something to pay attention to, you know. You're able to get that health pack because, you know, a lot of times you're like fighting for it right about to spawn, right?
Yeah, very strategic positions where, you know, a lot of people rely on that, and you're just able to, you know, one of the ones that comes to mind is Dorado in that point right under the bridge where off to the right you have that health pack, and if everybody's fighting right there, you're able to land that grenade on everybody and just really devastate the enemy team while healing your friendlies. It's crazy.
Right, so let's talk a little bit about our sleep dart, right? So there's a lot of ways you could use this. It will be blocked by shields and barriers and things like defense matrix. It operates normally as you would expect it to. But a lot of things to sleep, a lot of people to sleep, a lot of opportunities, right? Obviously, people who are stationary, especially during ultimates and something devastating like that, it's very easy to get like a Deadeye, right? Or, you know, her daughter, Pharah, ulting. The people who are stationary, right, like a Bastion.
Yeah, it makes them really vulnerable to sleep, and it actually will stop the ultimates. Certain ultimates that have a time limit, obviously, once, you know, they're not asleep anymore, they will be available again to use that. But certain ultimates, like a Pharah ult or a Roadhog ult, it will stop the ultimate completely. They will be out of that.
Yeah, be familiar with like Flash Bomb by McCree, you know? You're familiar with that, right? So like even a charging Reinhardt, or like a Winston that's going ape on you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 12-second cooldown, but it's no shadow to, you know, a whole ult charge wasted when you use it. So it's definitely a really good trade-off. Definitely watch out for that to be able to use it to stop ultimates.
Right, talking about sleep dart, it's very important to talk about communication, right? So a lot of Ana revolves around communication, right? So when you put people to sleep, you know, communicating that to people like, okay, you know, this person's asleep, maybe even the location of that person, and, you know, don't wake them up or whatever. Just letting people know that you got heals on them, and especially your ultimate, right, is very important to, you know, you can push tab. A lot of people, I noticed this on Twitch, right? When you watch people play, a lot of people ask the same question. They ask, why do you keep on looking at the scoreboard? And a lot of people don't realize they're not looking at the scoreboard. They're looking at ultimate status and death status. They're seeing it and the composition. But you're able to see whether your friendlies have ultimates. When you see that Genji now have his ult, you're like, okay, now I can nano boost them.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I mean, keep in mind, that is the most information you can get without directly, communicating with your team. You're able to pull that up and see just from a glance who's dead on the enemy team, who's dead on your team, and who has their ultimate. So,
and the composition, if there was maybe a change or something recently.
Yeah, so, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've looked at my team and been like, oh, we're out of a tank. We don't have a tank, or we don't have a healer.
Everybody's dead besides me. Where's my team?
Yeah, exactly.
I hear those a bunch. But yeah, so you can see if someone has ultimate charge. It doesn't tell you the status. You know, you can ask for a status. Maybe that would be something in the future that Blizzard could do, is just give you like a percentage, you know, rather than just a big blue check mark.
When they have their ultimate.
When they have the ult, yeah.
Yeah, maybe we'll see that. I don't know. It really depends on what they think about that communication, whether it should be obvious at what percentage they're at. But
yeah, pretty much you want to communicate, you know, communicate your grenade, communicate your nano boost, your sleep dart, etc.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, always communicating any kind of ultimate or major ability should be a must for anybody.
Right, so her nano boost is very impactful, very powerful. I haven't seen much of it used in competitive play. A lot of tournaments weren't allowed to be played with her. But the first one that comes to mind is the Genji, especially an ulting Genji. Very, very powerful with the nano boost.
Yeah, it's not like Genji needs any more speed boost, but the damage reduction plus, the increased damage output makes him super lethal. Not that his ability wasn't already lethal already, but
yeah, because he has quite a bit of mobility already, but he's going to be moving even faster, so he's going to be able to slice and dice just as much easier.
Yeah,
and other characters that take advantage of speed, like a Winston ult, him moving faster, he's able to really disrupt a lot better, right? Or a soldier ult, he already has sprint, but now people aren't going to be able to hide, right?
Yeah, one, especially McCree. I have seen McCree used on McCree quite a bit, because just like the Lucio speed boost into his ultimate, because when he's ulting, he doesn't move really that fast. So you're able to speed boost him with Lucio the same kind of way you can do that with her nano boost. You're able to make him move a lot quicker and get him into position to get that ult off.
Yeah, and McCree's really good right now. If you haven't noticed, he's on every team. And
like usual, like he should be, but yeah.
I like the meta. Some people don't like him. I like him.
They can't really complain now because there is a one hero limit. The big complaint before was everybody's running McCree. You have 2-3 McCrees on a team, So that's not happening anymore. So
is that any other tips and tricks for Anna you think of?
No, I think that pretty much does it for Anna. I guess we're doing Genji next week, so definitely stick around for that. I cannot wait to talk about Genji.
Yeah, so the people who've communicated with us, apart from Anna, because she's a new one, we got a Genji request. So yeah, Genji will be here next week. We'll be focusing all about him. He's got quite a bit of stuff we could talk about.
Yeah, Genji, like I said, is one of my favorite characters. I honestly haven't been playing him as much just because I've been trying to play other people, but definitely Genji, looking forward to that. So I think that's going to do it for us on this character discussion. It's going to do it for us for the show. So thanks again for listening. Come back next week, and we'll be talking all about Genji.
Right, and thank you so much for listening. We want to say thanks to all the people who have reached out and spoke to us. You can email us at aheroeswelcomepodcast@gmail.com. We read and reply to everyone who's wrote us. If you wrote us and haven't got a reply, it's probably because you're spelling it wrong. But you can also find us on Twitter. We're at 2 Moon Studios. And thank you so much for listening. Till next time.
Till next time.